Thank you, Robert, for that. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper will no longer be considered as a potential running mate for Vice President Kamala Harris in the 2024 presidential election. He withdrew from being considered yesterday, simply saying it's just not the right time. But published reports say other factors played a role in Cooper's decision, some of which revolve around Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson.
As Queen City News anchor Derek Dellinger found out, the concern revolves around a previous track record of what Robinson has done when Cooper has been out of the state.
The news may have come as a shock, but North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper taking himself out of vice presidential consideration is increasingly looking like not much of a surprise. The Associated Press is reporting he didn't even submit vetting materials, but there is also reporting out that Cooper was concerned if he was VP candidate, he'd be campaigning extensively out of the state and leaving Mark Robinson in charge.
I think one of the issues that Cooper had was, could he potentially do something that would cause further controversy in this state?
Dr. Michael Bitzer is a political science professor with Catawba College and says Cooper's decision is politically one that had to happen. The state constitution says that during the absence of the governor from the state, the lieutenant governor shall be acting governor. The Associated Press cites two sources familiar with the ultimate decision that say if Lieutenant Governor Robinson did become acting governor while Cooper had been campaigning, there was concern over distractions and even legal issues. Bitzer says an inkling of that actually happened last year while Governor Cooper was in Japan.
There's really only been one instance when acting Governor Mark Robinson issued a proclamation in support of Israel while Governor Cooper was out. Governor came back to the state, didn't do anything, I believe, with that proclamation.
Queen City News told you about that proclamation, which came around the start of the Israel-Hamas conflict in October, announcing a week of solidarity with the country and a day of prayer. Critics called that proclamation self-serving, and even those in his own party noted his past history of anti-Semitic comments.
This is not about upstaging the governor.
Despite that concern, there's a belief that Cooper's bowing out won't be a negative on state numbers. National poll numbers are showing varying results now in the presidential race, but still show the race is very close. And even though Cooper may not be number 2 on the Democratic ticket, that doesn't mean you won't see him again after he wraps up his time as governor.
She will probably tap him for a cabinet level position, I would think. But there has also been talk about him eyeing the 2026 U.S. Senate seat.
Okay, all right. Derek joining us right now. And Derek, you also, what is there looking at the polling for who the North Carolinians do want on the ticket right now? And also, what about the down ballot races over the last couple of weeks?
Well, here's the thing. We want that information. We don't immediately have it right now. And here's the thing. You have to keep in mind, this whole story is literally just a little over a week old. It feels like it's been a lot longer, but the more granular information is expected to come out in the coming days and weeks. And hopefully we'll be able to get that, but it likely will not be coming before Vice President Kamala Harris picks her running mate, and also the announcement itself that it could be coming any day now, which could have an effect on whatever polling happens, not only statewide but also nationwide.
Polling definitely shows a surge right now for
Yes.
Harris. Now they have to figure out who's going to be on that ticket.
Yes.
Also, some interesting information there from Bitzer saying in terms of what we might, where we might
Senate run,
see, Roy
Mm-hmm.
Cooper heading in the future. Thank you.